This is the part where Helen asks me, Penny, questions.
Yeah, really intellectual and intriguing questions. Starting with, what is Out of the Ashes all about?
You got to I in the dictionary, didn't you? Anyway, Out of the Ashes is a band. We play jazz and blues with rhythm and blues and gospel roots. And actually, if I'm honest, a bit of country sometimes sneaks in there, and a bit of world music sneaks in there, and a bit of Latin sneaks in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically,
Expect anything, basically.
Expect anything.
Yeah.
And we write songs and we go and do gigs in all sorts of places. Anywhere where there's some electricity, basically, we will be there. Fields, gardens, pubs, clubs, festivals.
Yeah. Any
churches.
time of year, whatever the weather, we're there. Don't you worry. We've got big umbrellas.
Can we avoid it in a field? In
a storm. We've done that before.
It'd be nice if the audience could stand being there.
So what we also want to know, Penny, is how did Out of the Ashes come about?
Ooh. So Kevin, who is the love of my life.
Well, poor Kevin. We call him Poor Kevin.
He does have a lot to put up with. So we met in 1990. I discovered he was a guitarist. He discovered I was a singer. We thought, we'll make sweet music together. And then there was a long time, 20 years, of all we would do was quarrel when we tried to write anything together. Because I took my lyrics far too seriously and he took his blues guitar far too seriously. Well, nothing happened for a long time. And then God just turned a tap on and songs started to come out.
And Out of the Ashes was born.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like evolved and grown. So we, like Penny says, we are, when we're all together, it's 10 people, isn't it?
Can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has evolved. The other thing that I think a lot of people would like to know is what inspires you and your writing and your songwriting?
Oh, anything and everything. So it can be, Kevin and I can be sitting cuddled up watching a film and there'll be a great piece of music which just triggers something in us and makes it, we've got to do something, whatever. Also, things people say, things I read in books. Very often somebody will just come up with a phrase and you think, what a great phrase for a song lyric. And the other thing is, I think God speaks to me by me writing lyrics. People journal. A lot of people do what they call journaling, where they write stuff down and they can read what God is saying to them. And I've realised that this is how God speaks to me. It's by Him writing lyrics through me. And it's amazing what comes out sometimes.
And it's also good fun.
It's really exciting.
Yeah. So, which brings me on to the gigs and our performances. So Penny is now going to explain to you what a typical gig is going to be like.
Well, first of all, we turn up with lighting, with videos. So we put a whole show into place. It's not just a few people on a stage making music. There is a whole show there. We travel with all our own equipment, our own PA system, our own, you name it. And there will be songs and stories. Very often there are stories behind the songs. And the whole objective is to inspire. And actually, the whole objective is to give God an opportunity to sidle up to people and say, that thing that's hurting you, or that you're frightened about, or you're worried about, I want to talk to you about that. And it's a lovely way of bringing people closer to God in a way they don't expect.
Yeah. So
in fact,
come and see us.
Yeah.
The other thing that I just want you to mention and touch on is other stuff that we get involved in, or you particularly get involved in.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a blog, pennylion.com, and very often that's where the stories behind the songs end up. They get written about on the blog. We also have produced a radio show called Praythatprayer, which was about the way prayer gets answered. And we just interviewed all sorts of people, some of whom are well known and some of whom you will never have heard of. And they all have one thing in common, and that's amazing answers to prayer in extraordinary ways. So it was really nice to be able to interview them and produce that show.
There's quite a few series actually, aren't there?
It's one series.
A few episodes.
8 episodes,
Yeah.
10 episodes, something like that.
Yeah.
Pray that prayer.
Mm. So,
Radio programmes.
lots to see
Radio
and do.
interviews.
Yeah, and Penny does like to talk, as you have discovered.
I'm very shy.
She's very good at it.
Very shy.
And lastly, I just want for you to sort of tell us what it is. What's your favourite part of being in Out of the Ashes? What do you get out of it?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Do you know there are some surprising things. I love being in a band with women. Being in the changing room with women is always hilarious. And they're people that take you for exactly who you are because they see you in your underwear, let's be honest. And you become really good friends. I love the sense of creating something with a group of people. It always produces a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, and a sense of closeness that I can't describe. Just fabulous.
We do have some fun. We have
do.
some very fun, but that's a whole new programme that will take a lot longer than this. And some of those changing rooms are this big.
Oh, they are. Oh, they are.
Now, there are going to be one or two members of the audience who possibly might be excluded from this one, or maybe just one, I don't know. How many of you, honesty moment again, remember that when you were 15, you did not believe you would ever grow old? My hand has to go straight up. There's some good honesty going on in the room. I suspect there's some dishonesty in the end. I reckon that when you were 15, you did not believe you'd ever grow old. And of course, somebody along the way said, "You're going to grow old too one day, you know." And I remember distinctly thinking something along the lines of, yeah, and tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm probably going to be a panda bear. Because I just did not believe it. And of course I got to 20, and 20 was a bit cooler than 15, so I was quite happy with that. And then I got to 25, and actually 25 is really cool, so I was really happy with that. Then I got to 30, the big 3-0, and it dawned on me that the numbers were only going one way. I know you might not think I was terribly observant, but it kind of hit me that this was all clearly uphill. But nothing hurt. I woke up in the morning, everything was fine. And then I got to 40, the big 4-0, and I got teased for the first time. And somebody referred to being middle-aged. And I found that a little bit scary, but not much, and I carried on and I got on with life, and life was fine. And then I got to the big 5-0, and the big 5-0, the way I coped with the big 5-0 was to tell myself that in 10 years' time it was going to be the big 6-0, so I might as well, and then I'd be looking back at the big 5-0 thinking, well, that's young. So I might as well just get on with it and enjoy myself. And nothing hurt still, so it was okay. And then I remember getting to 53 and looking in the bathroom mirror, and I saw some lines, and I saw some grey hairs, and I don't want to fool you, I was scared. And I was scared because I was seeing so many people for whom growing old was actually quite uncomfortable. And my mother was a real case in point. She actually died just a few months ago, but by the time she died, she really wanted to die. She had absolutely had enough. She didn't know Jesus Christ, and she felt that life was empty and soulless and valueless, and she hated every moment. And I didn't want to go there. And there I am looking in the mirror, wondering how much makeup it's going to take to start sorting this out. And I felt God over my shoulder, and it's that quiet voice. And he said, "You know what? I really like the lines on your face. I really like your grey hairs, because they're a sign that you're getting closer to me." And I found that utterly breathtaking. And of course I realised it's true, because I realised that, yeah, in years I'm getting closer to God. But also I'm getting more prayerful, I'm getting better at hearing his voice, I'm getting better at being obedient, and I am getting closer to God in the way that we get closer to people that we get to know better and become more loving to. And I found that just so encouraging. So this is what we do. We go out, we sing our songs, and we tell our stories, and we talk to people who are also perhaps a little bit afraid of the path they're on. And we wrote this song, and it's called Closer to You, because it's exactly what it's about. Why should I worry about lines on my face? Why should I worry about turning to grey? Why should I worry about the passing of days when each one brings me closer to you? Why should I worry about the aches and the pains? Right, I'm sure you've all totally not noticed my little boxes. Anybody notice my little boxes? Right, okay, you can have a little box, take a little box away with you. In worldly terms, it's about the most unexciting thing you could take away after a party. It's a box of ash. All it contains is wood ash. But there's a story that goes with it. There's a little boy that lives near Galilee. In fact, he lives in Galilee. And he has heard that there is this man going around telling stories, healing people, doing miracles. And this man is really extraordinary because he has time for children. Nobody in ancient Israel had time for children. Children were ignored. And this little boy is desperate to go and hear what this extraordinary man has to say. And he's hearing that some people are saying he's the Messiah. This is something really exciting that's going on. He just feels he's got to go and hear him. So he asks his mum, please, can I go and see this Jesus speak? And she says, okay, you can. I want 2 conditions. You get your chores done. 3 conditions. Get your chores done. Behave. I do not want to hear of any trouble. And you're back by sundown. So he gets his chores done. And he says, I've finished, can I go? She says, you can. I've made you a packed lunch. And she sends him off. 5 loaves, 2 fishes in a little bag. And he goes to Galilee and he hears Jesus speaking. And this boy's life is totally changed on that day. And he's so excited and so enthusiastic. He's longing to go back and tell his mum about it, but he doesn't want to leave. And the sun is coming down and he realises he's got to leave. And then Jesus is asking if anybody's got any food, because he realises the crowd is hungry. And this little boy, hand goes straight up, loads of enthusiasm. I've got some. And then he realises that he's the only person who has put his hand up. And he realises not only is he the only person who's put his hand up, but somebody is laughing. And you can see that we hear it as 5,000 people that were there, but that was just the men. There were women and children. There were thousands upon thousands of people there. And he's just said that he's got 5 loaves, 2 fishes. And right now he wants to hide. And he's probably gone a little bit pink and he's just wishing that he could not be so enthusiastic at key moments. And he's longing to just disappear into the earth. But he doesn't. He walks forward and he hands over to Jesus everything he has. 5 loaves, 2 fishes. And with that, one of the greatest miracles in the Bible is done. And the point of these boxes is that we spend our lives making excuses as to why Jesus can't use us. We're too old, we're too young, we're too black, we're too white, we're too middle class, we're too upper class, we're too working class, we're too clever, we're too stupid. We have got so many excuses ready for stopping us of actually being useful to Jesus and going and doing some probably the most exciting things in our lives. But when we actually hand it all over and say, okay, it's all yours, use me, he will do the greatest miracle in your life. So if you want to take some of these away, we give them away. As I say, it's just ash, but there's a very big message behind it. Right, we're then on to Ain't Done Yet. And one of the biggest excuses that people come up with for not doing things is that they're too old. And I was just saying to Amy before we started, in the Western world there are more people over 80 than there are under 20. It's America, England, throughout Europe. More people over 80 than there are under 20. And yet we are so inclined to hand over the reins and say, you do it, I'm too old. And what God's put on our hearts, so we go out into churches. We were in Tenerife earlier this year, we were in Holland late last year. We go all over the UK, we're going to Scotland later on this year. And the whole thing is to say, you are not finished. God has got stuff for you to do. And it's a message that we thought was just for people that were over 30. Until I was speaking to my son the other day, James, who was at school, and they had a group called Aging Well, came to talk to them. And Aging Well, we're talking to them about, as you grow old, you can still do stuff. And there was a lady there who had done her first parachute jump at 85. Kath, how old were you when you did your first parachute jump?
83.
83. Kath is planning on another parachute jump. She's quite fond of the young man with the Mohican that looks after you on the way down. So, this message has been given to all these kids, and one of the questions that was asked of the kids is, how old do you think old is? And the answer was resounding and clear. Old is 30, 35. Now we all laugh, but have you thought about the pressure that puts on those young people? The pressure to rush on ahead and do everything they want to do, because by the time they get to 30 or 35, it's going to be too late. And we have such a responsibility to say to young people, you've got your whole life. In God's terms, if we're still breathing, He has stuff for us to do. Otherwise, we wouldn't still be breathing. So we wrote this song, and it's called Ain't Done Yet. Use a life, it ain't done yet. Use a life, it ain't done yet. Use a life, it ain't done yet. So get up out that chair. Moses was past retired, where the burning bush was set afire. No, it gone 600 years when the water began to rise. Use a life, it ain't done yet. Use a life, it ain't done yet. Use a life, it ain't done yet. So get up out that chair. When Joshua marched on Canaan.
My Father and my shepherd, you go before me everywhere I
table, I'll take a bigger jump. My confidence in you has grown, so I jump from higher up. When I tip off the table, I know you won't let me fall, 'cause you're my daddy, Father, Lord, and your hands are oh so sure. When I tip off the table, 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 I tip off the table.